new deputy I hadn't met. Then the doors opened and whatever hope I had died quick. Two men stepped out in tactical vests with bold white letters, HOA cop. They walked up like props from a reality show. One tall, shaved head, mirrored shades, the other stockier, clutching a clipboard. No real badges, but an attitude like they owned the road. The tall one rapped my window, license and registration, step out. I cocked an eyebrow. On what authority? You're violating multiple HOA ordinances, he said, all business. This is an official compliance stop. On the highway, I said. Correct, the clipboard man said, eyes flicking to his notes. Article 7, subsection B. Resident vehicles must meet community appearance standards. Your truck has unauthorized accessories. You pulled me over for my toolbox and mud tires, I said, hardly hiding the laugh. Non-compliance is serious, puffed the tall one. Failure to cooperate will result in escalation. A white Lexus rolled up then and out stepped Linda Marsh, HOA president. Perfect hair, pearls, that smug smile, clipboard like a badge. Good morning, she sang. We've had complaints about your vehicle. These officers are acting under my authority. I bit a grin. Linda, this is a public road. Your reach stops at the gate, I said. She tilted her chin. Our jurisdiction follows our residents, she replied. Your truck reflects badly on the community. It's embarrassing. The clipboard guy nodded like she'd recited the law. Exit the vehicle. Non-compliance may result in impound. That's when I realized they weren't merely posturing. They wanted to strong-arm me into surrendering my truck. I kept my hand steady on the white chalks. So let me be clear, I said, slow and flat. Two faux cops in HOA vests, backed by a president who thinks her rules are federal law, are trying to detain me over a pickup. The tall one's jaw tightened. Laugh all you want. This is happening. Step out or it escalates. I let their bluff roll off me. They thought they had me boxed in, but they hadn't picked the right fight. The tall one slammed his palm on the glass hard enough to rattle. Last chance, he barked. Linda folded her arms, smug as ever. We've documented your violations. This goes on record. Records, I said and exhaled. Some of us know how to keep the legal kind. The clipboard man leaned closer, polyester whispering against the door. Don't play games. We're authorized to use force. I smiled then, calm, cold, deliberate. Because while they saw just another homeowner, they didn't know who they'd chosen to provoke. I tapped a button at my hip, a silent signal real deputies understand, and without waiting to be rescued, I pushed the door open, making the clipboard man step back. I walked out, boots crunching, arms folded. You boys sure you want to see this through? I asked, voice even. The tall one squared his shoulders, tugging at a pair of cheap cuffs swinging from his belt. Turn around, hands behind your back. Now. Before I could reply, the air split with a rising wail. Sirens, real ones, closing fast. The imposters froze, confidence bleeding out of their eyes. Even Linda's smug smile cracked. Two sheriff's cruisers barreled in, lights blazing, dust curling around their tires. My deputies stepped out calm as stone, hands resting easy on their belts. Boss, Morales called, giving me a quick glance before eyeing the pair. Want to tell me why these jokers have you stopped on a state highway? I nodded toward them. They call themselves HOA cops. Said my truck violated mailbox rules, claimed it was engaged. Embarrassment. Morales arched a brow, lips twitching with disbelief. On the highway? We were enforcing community standards. The tall one jabbed a finger at me. He refused a lawful order. That's obstruction. Morales chuckled outright. Lawful order? That vests from the internet. That's impersonation. Linda clutched her clipboard like a shield. This is a misunderstanding. They're authorized by the board. Morales cut her sharp. Ma'am, HOA rules stop at your property line. You don't run traffic stops. If you're enjoying this HOA saga, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it only gets wilder from here. The imposters traded nervous glances, bravado gone. Their toy cuffs looked like props under the cruiser lights. I stepped in closer. You thought you could bully me, but you picked the wrong man. You dressed up like cops while the real sheriff sat behind the wheel. The red and blue painted their faces with the same glow they'd soon see from a jail cell. Linda's grin evaporated, her pearl necklace trembling as her throat tightened. Morales plucked the badge off the tall man's vest, holding it up to the sun. This, he said flatly, wouldn't fool a kid at Halloween. The man stammered. We were authorized by the HOA. "Save it," Morales snapped, snapping real cuffs on his wrists. "You're under arrest for impersonating law enforcement, unlawful detention, and coercion." The clipboard man shrank, pale as chalk. Linda shrieked, "You can't do this! The HOA backs them fully!" I turned to her steady. "Linda, the HOA doesn't outrank state law, and since your signature's on every complaint, you're looking at charges too. Harassment, fraud, conspiracy." Her jaw flapped soundless, like a fish hauled from the water. Minutes later, the imposters sat locked in the cruisers, polyester vests bagged as evidence. Linda's clipboard was seized, and she was cited on the spot. But the fallout only began there. Once we passed the file to the prosecutor, NABI. Oars poured forward with stories, phony fines, threats of compliance centers, intimidation at their doors. My traffic stop had lit the fuse for a full investigation. 2 weeks later, I sat front row in county court. Charges rolled off the clerk's tongue: impersonating a peace officer, fraud, conspiracy, attempted restraint. The tall man flushed crimson, the clipboard guy sweated through his shirt, and Linda sat stiff as marble, clutching her purse like a life raft. The judge barely blinked. "Bailiffs," she ordered, "take them into custody." Gasps rippled the chamber. A few neighbors even clapped, quiet but fierce. They'd endured fake tickets, threats, years of HOA tyranny. Now the tables had turned. By week's end, the imposters were sentenced to county time and ordered restitution. Linda was stripped of her title, slapped with fines, and barred from contacting half the neighborhood. The board dissolved her so-called enforcement unit, leaving her legacy in ruins. As I left the courthouse, neighbors who once whispered now met me proudly. Handshakes, pats on the back, sighs of relief. "Sheriff," one older man said, voice heavy with gratitude, "feels like we finally got our neighborhood back." I gave him a nod, simple and steady. No one is above the law, not imposters, not power-drunk presidents. Justice doesn't wear costumes. And with the HOA's fraud dragged into daylight, our community finally stood free.